Welcome back to another Where Games Banished video. We are looking at what we call the secondary buildings today. So we're taking a town that we've already kind of got up and running. We have built our basic stuff and we've got enough food coming in that people won't starve right away. We've got sort of the basics taken care of, so now it's time to really start expanding our town. In case you didn't catch the first video, this is Pikio. This is our little town. So we're built kind of in the middle of this little peninsula right here. We've got a river on one side and a little stream to the other side of us. Because we didn't start out in an area where there was direct access to fish or anything like that, we decided to build a couple of gatherers' huts up to the north of us here. And then we've got our town itself here, which is basically just 5 or 6 houses. We built stone houses. We talked about the reasoning for that on the last video. Basically, less firewood in the long run, more stone needed in the short run, which kind of hurts, but we've decided to do that. So, regardless of that, we've got 2 crop fields here. We've got some squash growing, we've got some corn growing. They're both a little bigger than we would normally put, maybe like an 8x15, that kind of thing. But we just wanted to get those up and running. We have a blacksmith, we have a stockpile, we have not 1 but 2 storage barns, the second one just starting to fill up now. We've got our woodcutter right here. And then over here we've got one of our little sort of satellite areas, which consists of the herbalist, the hunting cabin, the gatherer's hut, and the forester's lodge. Set the forester's lodge just to plant, not to cut. That's just in order to allow us to get all of that stuff together and keep everybody else in that area happy. So what we were going to talk about today is how do you build those second set of buildings? Where do you go once you've got just enough stuff coming in to keep you going? And so there's a few things that we're wanting to do, especially in this scenario where we want to kind of get out here towards the river. The first thing that we're going to look at doing is kind of heading out this way, maybe putting in a fisherman's hut and maybe putting in a trading post. The trading post is going to become pretty important to us long term. This moment, it's not super crucial to us. A couple other things we're going to want to look at doing is putting a well in case there's a fire. We're going to get to the point where we're going to have a tailor, and we're going to get to the point where we're going to have a schoolhouse. All of those things are going to be pretty important for us as we go. So, first things first, we're going to put in a dirt road, and we're going to have that go all the way out towards the coast here. And I'm also going to put in a stockpile out here. And the reasoning for that is once we start clearing this area, we don't want our gatherers taking all the stuff all the way back over to the other stockpile, because that's just going to waste a lot of everybody's time. So let's get to it. We're going to remove some of these resources here. We don't have a whole lot of laborers. We've got a few of them. We're going to get going here. I've got it set to 10 times just to kind of get things moving in a hurry. And previously they'd been asked to clear out this area as well. So really it's this season is just focusing on clearing and clearing and clearing. As you can see from our numbers here, we could use up to another 6 gatherers. For the time being, we do have enough food coming in, so we're not really sweating that at the moment. And as you can see, our second storage barn has started bringing some stuff in for us now. And there you go, some trees getting knocked out here. Really, we should have set this guy to be our priority. Build that first, and then everything else can go in there. So we use the magic hurry up and get it done button. The second set of buildings can take a little bit of time. I'm going to try to keep this brief for you, so I know nobody likes to watch hour-and-a-half long videos. So there we go. Our stockpile's done. So they're just going to keep moving stuff into that area and continue to do what we have told them to do in this area, which is to kind of clear it out. I think before we go ahead and put the trading post in, the first thing I want to throw in is a fishing dock, because I want to make sure that we've got more food coming in. Always more food. Never have too much food in this game. The downside with this, of course, area right here is that it's going to be tricky to put any kind of straight road in. We get this little weird wonky road going there. It's not the end of the world, though. We can live with that. The other thing that we're going to want to keep doing constantly, and sometimes people forget this in the early game, is that you can see right now our houses, we've got quite a big families living in those houses. If we were to put in a few more houses, those people would have room to move out and start new families, and that will actually give us a bigger population as we go. So I'm going to put in 1 stone, and I'm actually going to break down, and I'm going to put in a wood house, which I normally wouldn't do, but just for the sake of expediency, we're going to get that going, and we're going to get those guys moving on that fast. So another problem that you can run into in the early second phase here is that, of course, you want to build 1,000 buildings. You don't have enough people to man 1,000 buildings, and you certainly don't have the laborers to keep them all going. So stuff gets dropped, things get forgotten. You can see here we've hit our food limit. I've never really seen the point in keeping the food limit low. So we're just going to crank that right up to 200. Just keep bringing food in until we tell you to stop. So there you go. We've got a new family, and they're moving in there, and that's going to help, you know, alleviate some of the clogs in these other houses here. So the other thing you don't want to do, you don't want to put too many houses in right at the same time, because that's going to lead to a population dip later, because all those people, all the kids they're having essentially are going to get old at the same time. So right now we've got a decent amount of logs, we've got a decent amount of stone, we've got a decent amount of iron. So we could probably take the risk and put in our trading post. We've really got enough to keep all of that going. So just going to put it here. The newer players, I know a lot of times they don't get to the trading post early, but the more you play, the more you realize that it really is pretty crucial to keeping things going, especially if you don't want to start expanding all over the map and start going all over the place looking for resources. As it is, we're going to end up probably stripping all of the stone in this little peninsula and probably actually building out into this peninsula across here to get all this stone and what have you. Alright, so winter has come again, and we are building and building and building. So we've got almost all the stuff for our fishing dock. We're just waiting for the builders to come and finish building that. Really, if we want to make things a little more expedient, we can stop that one and let this one complete. Really, they're just going to keep bringing in the items for that. This just tells the builders you don't have to worry about building the other thing, which they're not going to get to anyway. So, your call, right? Hitting the pause basically just stops the builders from showing up. We're going to take it off, and as you can see, now we basically have to take a couple of our laborers and turn them into fishermen. What we could do at this point is, and this is a very important early game thing, is during the growing season we have our people growing. We'll let them worry about being farmers. As soon as their crops are in, we can take them off farming and put them onto fishing or something like that, so they're actually bringing in food year-round for us. For now, we're going to just not worry about that, and we are going to push forward on our trading post. I can see already that we're going to end up being short a little bit of stone for the other things that we want to build. So one thing we could set our extra laborers, assuming we have any extra laborers, which we don't really right now, is to get some more stone. So we're not going to tell them to do that at the moment. We're just going to push forward with what we got here. So of course it takes a little while to move all of that stone over here because it's all in the far lot for us. So they're going to kind of bring it over a little bit at a time. The other thing we're going to want to do shortly is we're going to want to put another storage barn closer to this fishing dock. As it is, those guys have to walk all of that food all the way over here, and they're only taking a few units at a time, so it's going to take quite a while for them to get the fish over there. It's not really super efficient, but we're not going to sweat that right at the moment. Okay, we've finished bringing all our stone in. We've got iron closer by. That's going to be faster. So when you're thinking about building, really think about where your stuff is in your storage yards. If you can get some materials collected close to where you want to build, it'll increase the speed at which you're building. We didn't do that because we didn't think far enough ahead. But we've got all our materials, and it's really just up to the builders now. We just need our builders to show up. Our contractors. Constantly waiting for the contractors to come back. If any of you have built or worked on a house, I'm sure you can feel that pain. Blacksmith has hit the limit. That's okay. We don't really need more than 50 tools at this point. We don't even have 50 people, so that's not going to be a big deal to us. We could theoretically take the blacksmith off the job right now, and we could put him over as a woodcutter. The woodcutter has no more logs, so now you can see that we've got a decent amount of logs over here. We could easily start pulling a bunch of those. And the only ones we're waiting on are our builders. Where are our builders? Why won't the builders come and finish building? Builders, we love you. Just come and finish your job already. Dudes, really. The people are waiting. They're intrigued. And you can see now our laborers are busily cutting down the trees. Some people like to set their foresters to cut and plant and just keep going that way. I'm kind of more a fan of let it build up, tear them all down, and then let it build up. That way you get your herbalist, your hunting cabin, your gatherer's hut. They all tend to work better when there's more trees. So that's the way that I like to play that. And then we can also tell them, hey, grab all this stone, you guys, because we're going to need it at some point. We know that. It's early autumn now, and our stuff is out of the fields, as you can see. So we take all those farmers away from being farmers. So we could easily tell a few of them to become gatherers. We're going to leave a lot of them as laborers. And finally, our builders are slowly starting to show up. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what it was? It's the logs there. We didn't have enough logs there. That's my bad. Here I am showing you how to do this. Can't even get it right myself. So yeah, we were short a few logs, which of course we just had our guys chop down, and so now they're going to finish the builders. And I was giving, sullying their good name, and it wasn't their fault at all. They just didn't have enough materials. We're actually full in our storage barns again, so we're doing so well that both of our storage barns are full. So normally we would want to maybe think about building another storage barn, but since we're building our trading post, what we're probably going to do is pull some of that material into the trading post. So that's another tactic that you can use. The trading posts hold quite a bit of stuff, so if you're getting to the point where you're totally overwhelmed, you can easily put a bunch of things into those. We're at the 80% mark. Builders are building. Builders are building. What I'm going to do is look at our storage barns here and see what we've got a lot of. It looks like we've got a lot of berries. We've got a little bit of fish coming in now. So venison is going to be important to us because it's worth 3 units compared to the rest of the food, which is worth 1. So often I'll take a lot, if not all, usually just a lot of the venison that we're creating. And I will keep that for trade in the early stages so that we can build up some cash and buy the things we need to get us to the point where we have a nice little economy going. It's going to be another early phase thing for us. Okay, so trading post is almost done. One more thing we're going to want to throw in here is a well, just in case there's a fire. Now we're just going to kind of hedge our bets. We're going to put it there because that's going to save all those houses. We don't have anything over here that can help. Over near the river, you don't need to worry because the people will just go down to the river and pull some water out of the river to do that. So in case you were thinking about that, you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to put one and only one trader on the job right now. And as you can see here, we have our inventory. What do we need to put in? So as I said, we got a bunch of berries. We could easily take, say, 1,000 units of berries. We're not using them to make any ale yet. We could start doing that. We seem to have a lot of berries. That would probably be a good move. And then the ale we can sell. That will be a good thing for us. The venison. So I'm going to move 300 units of venison, and that will also help take some stuff out of the storage barns. And just for now, I'm going to put, say, 1,000 units of squash in here. I don't really like to trade our normal food, but we won't really need to do that for very long once we have some income coming in. We're going to put another storage barn in right here so that our fishermen can be more efficient. And it will also help with goods coming in and out of the storage barn. I'm also going to put in a tavern. So it's ready. It's time to start building up our little economy with our taverns and our tailors. We don't have a tailor yet. We should probably build one of those too. I'm just going to stack the queue up right now. Like I said, it's very easy at this phase in the game to start just building everything and not really paying attention to what you're doing. So in a standard game, we'd probably go a little slower, but we certainly would just want you guys to be able to see what's happening here and to get some ideas about building faster yourself. Now, it's late spring. We haven't put anybody back into the fields. But, like I said, we've got quite a bit of food already, so I'm not going to sweat the fact that we don't have any more food coming in this season. And our numbers of food will drop because we're slowly bringing more items over into the trading post. Now, once you've got one person working in the trading post and you've got some inventory in there, you should start seeing some traders coming. They're not here yet, but they will come. A lot of people panic. They don't see them for a little while, and well, what's going on? Why isn't it working? Don't sweat it. Make sure you've got at least one trader working there, and make sure that you've got some inventory, and they will start to come. When they get here, we'll very quickly talk about what it is they do. So Phase 2 continues. As we said, we want to make sure that everything is up and running, but we don't have enough resources. Once again, we need to make sure that we're bringing in enough stuff to do all this. Cut down more trees, bring in more stone. This phase of the game, it's all about what resources we can get, what can we find close by. As things continue, we will start looking at building a quarry or building a mine to bring in more stuff. But right now, there's so much of this stuff on the ground around us that we don't really need to worry too hard about that. Look at all the iron we've got here. It's crazy. So we're just going to tell people, you know, get me some of that iron, get me some of that stone, get me some of them logs. Logs are pretty crucial because more than one group use them. Of course, the blacksmith uses them and the woodcutters use them. So that's the one you really don't want to run low on. Other things like stone and iron, it's okay to run a little bit low on. Of course, the blacksmith uses the iron as well, but it's not as crucial as logs. Got to make sure you got some logs. Another thing that we can trade early on is firewood. So if we needed to get some cash in here, we could easily chop some firewood. A lot of people go with a firewood economy in general. I find it's a little too fiddly for me. There's too much sort of keeping tabs on it and making sure that you're not starving your own people of firewood when every time you sell it and all of a sudden they pull another 500 or 600 or 700 units. So I prefer not to do that. Alright, storage barn number 3, almost done. Storage barns, apart from using some resources, are pretty much free. Nobody works in them, so you can feel free to throw them up kind of wherever as long as you've got the resources to spare. Of course, we didn't at that point, but we did it anyway. We don't care. We're going to put the tailor in. Because we have our hunting cabin over there, we're bringing in a little bit of leather, so it's a good idea to have some coats around for the winter so the people, if they're going far away from their houses, don't freeze. And, you know, it's just nice to give people some of those. And at some point, we're going to become a wool economy, which we're going to want to make as many wool coats as we can. So why not get it going a little bit up to this point? And then the next thing we'll finish up is our tavern here. We need a few more logs to finish up the tavern. And then that will help get our ale economy going, because we're going to want to start producing ale, which we can also sell for the other things we need. And really the only thing we're kind of lacking right now is pastures. So we want to trade for some animals. I'm a big fan of sheep over cattle, because the sheep, they reproduce faster, so you can start getting some wool and some mutton out of them sooner. And hooray, our first trader has arrived. I like to pause the game as soon as the trader shows up, so I'm not feeling like I'm in a rush. They will stay for an entire season, so right now it is winter. This guy will stay all the way until spring. He has brought us almost nothing that we want. We could trade for some apple seeds, but right now we're bringing in berries, and the only reason we'd want apple seeds is to make apples, which would give us our ale. At this point, that's not really a good trade for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our orders and we're going to say, hey, can you bring us apples, and can you bring us even more berries and cherries, and wheat is a good thing to bring in. And this guy is a general guy, so he's got stone, he's got log, he's got iron, coal. I'm not going to put the coal on yet, but we could bring that in. I want wool if he's got it. This is important. A lot of people miss this. You got to change this thing from never to every visit, and then every visit he'll bring most, if not all of those. Not necessarily all every time. We're going to send him on his way. The irony is it takes a lot of material to build that trading post. As soon as you have one trading post, you want a second trading post, because you can never have enough trading posts. It's always, if the wrong boat comes, you want another boat right away. So, yeah. Okay, sorry, we're heading to the 20-minute mark here, and we want to make sure that all this gets done before we have bored you to tears, which I hope we haven't done. If we have, and you're still listening, then shame on you, and also leave us a comment and tell us that, because your feedback is much appreciated. So this is the last one here, and again, we're just waiting on some logs. It's just a product of having too many things all coming in at the same time, so we do need some more logs. And we should probably get our farmers back in our farmer fields. As you can see, we've got a fair number of laborers now because we've had a few more kids grow up. We don't have a school yet. That'll be one of the next things that we'll be looking at doing once our tavern is up and running. Probably could even have 2 taverns, but at this point we're not going to do that. Let's just get one. Let's get that going. Our tailor is already working. He's building the hide coats because that's all we have the material for. When we have some wool coming in, we'll flip them over to wool because we can get more trade for that. And our tavern is done. Put one guy on the job. We're going to tell him use berries. Okay. So that's up and running. Now, yeah, the people are pretty far away from that tavern. If they want to walk over and have a drink, it's a little bit of a walk for them. But really, right now, it's more about getting some product that we can sell as opposed to keeping them happy. They can be happy later. So really, we've got most of our sort of tier 2 buildings done. The last one would be the school. We can put the school in right away. I'm going to put the school back here. And we can probably also put in a cemetery. That's something that you should get in fairly soon. It just uses a lot of stone, so I don't think I'm going to put one in right this minute, just for the purposes of what we're doing here. So the big thing to remember when you put your schoolhouse in is that it's going to be a few extra years before you get more adult workers, because all those kids, instead of becoming workers right away when they grow up, they will become students. On the plus side, you get an educated workforce, and they bring in more stuff more quickly. So it's a good trade-off. Just make sure that you're ready for it is really the only thing that I would say. And I'm also going to tell those guys, clear this area out. So once again, we're a little bit short on logs. Got to keep getting our logs in. We fell behind on our logging. Don't fall behind on your logging. So we'll tell our guys, give them the priority of cutting a bunch of trees down. Now, really, we shouldn't be cutting the trees over here because we don't have our forester in, but it's easy enough to remedy that later. You can see the area where our forester is. We could still take all these trees in the back and all these trees in the front. And again, we should probably be doing that. Okay. So, now we have enough material, and there's our schoolhouse. And we'll put in our teacher. One final thing that I'll mention for round 2 is that once you have your teacher in, it's really important that you have a couple extra. I've got 7 extra laborers, which we don't really need, but make sure you keep 1 or 2, because if your teacher dies for whatever reason and you've got 20 students, you automatically get 20 new laborers who are uneducated because they didn't have a chance to finish their education. So that's our tier 2 building. So now we've got sort of the basis of our good economy growing. Our people are thriving. So we'll look at part 3, which will be adding in building up the economy and those last couple of buildings that the town will need, markets, things like that, and really getting going with building up an economy. We'll check that out next time. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you do have any feedback, it's really appreciated. It's a strange new world of videos here, and anything you can give us as far as feedback to help us get better would be much appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.